Hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today I want to talk about something that no one else is really covering in the news, and it's been a concern of mine for quite some time. I've talked about it before, but I went back and I looked at some of the numbers that have ramped up here as of late, and we've got a real bad situation going on in Nigeria and other countries right now where we have Islamic terrorists are cleaning out entire villages of Christians. Now, when they say Christians, they're trying to kind of coddle things and not talk about Catholics. So for the most part, the people that are being butchered in these Nigerian towns and villages are basically Catholic-oriented people. And they're being slaughtered. And they're being slaughtered to the tune of about, I think right now, if they keep up at this pace, they're looking at about 1,000 heads every month. 1,000 people every month. That's basically what happened in the one day at the October 7th massacre last year when these Palestinian Islamic terrorists broke across the border and killed, over 1,000 Jewish people. Citizens just trying to have a good time and at a festival and other places just marauded their villages, baked the babies, things like this, just these heinous crimes. Now, a lot of these people that were doing these heinous acts were amped up on drugs. They gave them lots of methamphetamine and other sort of stimulants to make them be superhuman and crazy. And this is what was came out of this. These drugged up terrorists went in and started baking babies and things like this and laughing about it while they raped their mothers and, just ran amok in terrorizing these people before they ultimately killed them. And we saw what they've been doing in the tunnels there where they're assassinating their hostages. Now, why are they doing this? And because they can, and no one's really stopping them. Now, when I was in high school and going into college, and I forget exactly what happened, it was in that time, the Iranian overthrow of the Shah took place. I think that was in 1978-ish, 77, 78, somewhere around that time. But the Shah of Iran was overthrown, and then you had these student activists kind of coming, these Islamic student activists, basically terrorists by today's standard, took quite a number of U.S. personnel hostage. And they held them for quite some time. This is under Jimmy Carter. Now, Jimmy Carter was trying to do the nice things. He was trying to be a statesman. He was trying to not blow up his Israel peace accords and things like this. And he was trying to have his, hat rack moment. But in doing so, he didn't get strong. He didn't use force to get these hostages out of there. But one thing changed, and immediately got those hostages on a plane in a matter of moments. And that was Ronald Reagan. When Ronald Reagan was being sworn in, those hostages were all getting on planes to get to the freedom of the Western world. Now, why? Well, because Reagan and his crew going in were very, very direct with these people and said, look, either you get those people back on a plane coming to us, or we're going to bomb the shit out of you. No questions asked. And they believed him. And this was where the strength came in because, any mother, any father would do the same thing for their child. And what you needed was leaders and a president to look at these things as a parental situation and not as some sort of political situation. Get those kids home. Whatever you got to do, get them home. And then we'll talk about how we're going to finish this. And we don't have that going on in the world today. And we don't have anyone standing up to these Islamic terrorists in Nigeria. The Catholic Church isn't saying anything. Pope Francis is out on this, world tour right now. Hasn't said a damn word about it. My gosh, what do you want? Let's get going on it. Where are the bishops? Where are the people crying out? And they're not getting the media. Why? Is it because they're black? Is it because nobody cares about these poor Nigerians? Is it because they're Catholic? Well, apparently they didn't care too much about the Jewish kids and people being attacked because they want to give all this praise and support to these Hamas people. This is craziness. We can't be fostering this. You're basically putting the bullets in your executioner's gun for them. We've got all these unmarked, unknown recent immigrants who've been brought into the country under the Biden administration, and no one knows who they are, where they are, and they're not doing anything when they take over areas and run rampant in these towns and taking them over. People are beginning to complain bitterly about their resources being eaten up by these immigrants coming in. They're taking over schools to house them, so the kids are being displaced. This is not what our money was meant for. This is not what we put this money into these educational systems for our schools to be taken over to be basically hostels for these new immigrants to have a place to lay on the floor and hang out and ravage these buildings too. This is not what we're supposed to be doing. This is not compassionate. This is not wise. This is not productive in any way, shape, or form. This is basically keeping the trouble over there and not over here. And so if we can keep them away from us just long enough, then that's okay. No, this isn't going to work. It isn't working. And so when we have Catholics and Christians being attacked for their beliefs and being killed and slaughtered in total numbers, I mean, they're not leaving any survivors. They're just clearing house, getting rid of all these people. And so, but no one cares about them because they're Christians and haven't become a protected class yet in the eyes of society. They're more of a class of people that should be despised and ridiculed because the mainstream media and the intelligentsia is trying to put Catholics and Christians down as being dumb and ill-advised about things. And this is all messed up. Bad is good, good is bad, and they're letting this craziness run amok because they want to be compassionate. You know what? Compassion has a limit. You have to then say enough's enough. Then you get into not just charity or help. You get into basically being complicit. And I think that's what we got going on right now. We've got a lot of our church leaders on all sides of every fence are being complicit in this by not standing up to this and saying no and demanding that our government and our State Department take action on these things. Action can be taken, but they won't do it. And they haven't done it. I don't know what it's going to take to make them do it. But right now, I think since 2020, over 20 to 25,000 people have been massacred in Nigeria just because they're not Muslim. This is bad. This is bad because everything that happens over in Europe, United States, think about it. Every bad actor that's in Europe is working in the United States, and they bring their activities with them and their tendencies. So don't be fooled by this. Don't be so compassionate that you let your guard down. Be wise. Pay attention. Hold your leaders accountable. Speak up to your priests and bishop. Say, where the hell are you? Why are you sitting quiet on this? Why are we not hearing about this in the sermons on Sunday? Why is nobody talking about this? I hate to think that it might be because they consider them to be ignorant black people in a country that nobody really cares about and doesn't show a lot of economic prosperity. Nigeria doesn't have a whole lot of natural assets. Back when the settlers were doing things and colonializing and doing things in Africa, there was the Ivory Coast, there was a Nigerian coast, and what was the other one? It was the Diamond Coast or something like that. But they had three areas where transport or exports were out of. And the Nigerian coast was where the slaves were coming out of. And so that was the Nigerian coast. Ivory Coast is where they exported their ivory, and then the Diamond Coast, where the other raw materials and good things were coming out of. Those are their asset piles. Nigeria didn't have anything except for people. And so their whole history and their whole culture is based upon people as commodities. Their kings did it when they sold their people as slaves. The people that they would take prisoner in war, they were either going to slaughter them there, or they were going to put them on a ship and send them to distant ports to be sold. And there was a slave trade that was going on in there. But it wasn't like the colonial people were going in and rounding up the brothers and loading them all on boats. Most of the times, white people never stepped on land, because the kings and the leaders in Nigeria didn't want the people on the boats coming onto land. What they did was they would take the slaves by way of these John boats out to the ships, and they would deliver the slaves to the ships for loading. Most of the times, these people on board the ship never stepped on land unless they were going to get provisions, but most of the time they used these John boats as shuttles back and forth. So if you look through some of the writings and things like that from people that were on these ships at that time and working, some of their documents indicate that they never actually left the ship because they weren't allowed on the land. So this was part of the deal that was made. But, that's getting into other weeds. But there's a real problem right now in the devaluing of human lives and the slaughtering that's going on, and the lack of concern and discussion that's going on about this. So take a look at it, look into it a little bit. This is definitely not purity. This is evil, and they're coming after not just the Jews, but they're going to come after the Christians and what they would want to call the non-believers from the Islamic side. So don't believe everything they say. Watch what they do, and we have to take action on that. So very, very troubling bit of news right now. The numbers are growing on the slaughters that are going on, and no one's stepping in to stop it. So please pray about this. Make an effort to think about this, learn more about it, and write a letter, send an email, do something. We have to do something to stop this trend that's going on and stop it before it comes on our shores and we start having major attacks here as well. So in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.